it's too nice not to sit outside and get my morning sunlight. That's so good for our eyes. It helps lower our cortisol, actually. And been doing a lot of interesting things, learning about cortisol, learning about a lot of different things. So let's see where this goes today. I wanted to talk about a couple things. Last night we had an amazing science call, and they were talking about the difference between now and the 1970s. And I really appreciated, they're talking about what changed, because so many of us feel beat up because we don't have the willpower to overdo things. But what we haven't recognized is how much of our food environment has changed. When one kid in the classroom is failing, it's probably the kid's fault. But when the whole classroom is failing, then we know there's a bigger problem. And the same thing with our metabolic health. When one or two people are struggling with weight, diabetes, all of those things, you might think, well, it's their fault. They're probably doing it wrong. But when you realize 93% of the population is really struggling on some level with metabolic health, which when I say metabolic health, I mean how your body processes energy. So it could be weight, it could be blood pressure, it could be neuropathy, it could be brain fog, it could be low energy, cravings, all of those things would be tied into that metabolic health. So as we listened to the science call last night, and if you want the link, I highly recommend everybody to watch it, because they described it so good. We've all seen pictures of the beaches in 1970s and now the beaches now. And they were talking about how we didn't have the culture of snacking. You can't even go to church without being offered donuts and coffee, and then the potlucks. And if you have any sort of a group together, you're always required to have food and snacks. That's kind of the big piece of it. We're back in the 70s, they didn't have that. Now even the office spaces, it's always the staff office. For every meeting we have to have snacks or treats or things that are available. So the availability of our food environment really impacts how hard it is for us to have the self-control. And then the other thing that I wanted to tie into that is this new book that I'm reading that is super helpful. And a lot of us talk about, well, I just do emotional eating. Well, part of that is because our brain is so efficient, it wants to make things what they call automaticity, when things just automatically happen. And your brain likes to do those things so it doesn't have to work so hard. And nothing wrong with that. It's just how we're wired. So we talk about what's wired together is fired together. And so let's say we have this emotional thing that happens. Let's just make it a positive. It's your birthday. You get this birthday cake that you've always wanted. We've made things special. And now your brain, and then you have this item and you feel so good, and your brain goes, hey, next time you're stressed, do that. And so it just rewires it into there. So next time we feel low energy, we want to do that. Next time we have a stressor in a relationship, we go to this food. And so there's just some things that are automatically wired in there. And I love how this guy exposes a lot of just mindsets that are totally wrong. Like, convinced that this food, junk food, actually has some kind of a benefit for us. And when we can look at it with some rational thinking, it doesn't have to be a hard, horrible thing to give up. I know that I gave up Diet Coke based on principle, and I was afraid that I would do that, and I had tried multiple times to give it up, knowing full well it wasn't great for me. But once you switch your mind about something, it was something I never looked back on. And so I know that it's possible. So if there's any sort of things that you know, and then we label ourselves, well, I have the addictive personality, and he's showing that that's all a bunch of bunk too. Those are just things that we've done, and then we've convinced ourselves that, oh, it's going to be so hard to make these changes, and it's not true. I mean, again, look back at how much has changed since the 70s and the food environments. And you know, as I was even having my class here on Thursday nights, I'm like, do I have to have food? And I thought, no, I'm not doing it. And, you know, people come with their own drinks, and it's really makes it so it's no pressure for anybody, because you don't want to eat stuff just to make somebody else happy, and we do that all the time. People feel obligated. Oh, I'm at this party, I've got to eat that, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And I always say, quite frankly, nobody else is paying attention to what you're eating because they're so worried about what they're eating. But anyway, I just wanted to get on here and share a few things. I've got another great book I want to share with you at some point. But if you're struggling at all or have connected yourself with emotional eating, this book might be just the thing for you. I hear a lot of these things over and over. I've said these things over and over. It says, there's a belief that junk food gives you pleasure or comfort that hastens your descent into the trap. When we see that it's a trap and it's the very thing that's causing the misery that we're trying to protect, I always used to say, why do we call it comfort food? Let's just call it what it is. It's uncomfortable. When you can't fit in your pants, it's uncomfortable. And he says we vacillate between, sometimes we're addicted to, we can be as addicted to the control of not overeating and having that item, and there's almost a whole nother addictive power. And then there's this, oh, we just give up and we go totally the other way. So we have two different things we vacillate, and that's why you can see people that, oh, they do so good and they lose all this weight and then whew, they bounce back up. And it's not understanding how the mindset is working for us. So anyway, those are some things. Last night we talked about the power of willpower. And, you know, willpower is one thing, but when you are constantly in the environment of the food, and we're automatically programmed to feel like we have to eat it or try it all, or we think in our head, oh, that's so good, I'm missing out. When we are in the mindset of it's got to be in my willpower, then we feel deprived. And when we feel deprived, it's only a matter of time before we're going to fall back into that same habit. So I want you to start thinking about, how do I feel? And I know for me, having the unicity and the Unimate, it takes away all the food noise. So I never feel deprived. I feel empowered, like, no, thank you. And I really don't want it, which is wonderful. And that's what's the big draw to the GLP-1s. The difference is I don't have any of the side effects, and that I still am eating well. I'm focusing on my protein. I'm protecting my lean muscle mass, but all the in-between snacking is really curbed. Last night on the science call, there was a really amazing testimony. It was a gentleman in his 50s. He's got neuropathy. His feet hurt. He was 50 pounds overweight. And he talks about how he was just desperate enough to, like, I'm going to try this thing. What the heck? And that's really kind of where all of us come in. We're like skeptical. We're like, could it just be that too good to be true? And it's like, well, what if it's not? And the worst case scenario is you get your money back after 90 days. I think that is so amazing. I love that piece of the puzzle as well. And then you're not taking it to make me happy. If you've got something that you're doing, great. You have no obligation to me. Just know that I am here to support you and encourage you in your health journey. And I want to see people getting healthier, not sicker. And so back to this willpower versus just understanding the different illusions and the traps that we've put ourselves in. And he uses an example in here of the Venus, it's not called the Venus flytrap, but that's what it is. The plant that has all this little sweet stuff around the edges, and then the fly gets in there and starts eating it, and then goes a little lower and lower, and then pretty soon it just fell into the very pit that's going to destroy it. And so often that's what we're doing. We are being marketed day in and day out to all these sweet little things that my mother-in-law used to say, that's to die for. And I'm like, stop saying that. Of course, she has passed away, but there's nothing worth dying for. And it's just funny, the verbiage and the things that we say and the things that we get in our head. Good morning, David. How are you? I so love following your testimony and watching you climb out of that Venus flytrap and just smack that thing in the nose. So keep up the good work. And again, I was just sharing that testimony of the gentleman that was on our science call last night, and what a powerful testimony it was. And I hear it with my clients too. It's not a, what's the word I want to say, a legalistic protocol. He said, I really didn't change that much. I just added this to my thing, and pretty soon my mind changed. She goes, it's like I learned it through osmosis. And I have another friend that got on here trying to kind of, she said, I didn't want to give up anything. And so she was going to kind of try to prove that it didn't work. But she's lost weight, and she said, the other day I actually folded up a bag of small potato chips. I didn't eat the whole thing. And she goes, that's never happened. So if you're one of those skeptics that's on the other side of the fence, just wondering if this really works, let me tell you, you jump the fence, and I can tell you, you are going to see and hear more testimonies that are so encouraging and powerful. David's was one of mine. I met him in the lunch line, actually at a convention, heard his story, and again, it makes you feel like you're just following behind Jesus, and this is how it should be. People should be getting better and better, not sicker and sicker. So have an amazing day. Continue to read, learn things, and even David is an author of a really great book that I've read. I'm trying to think of it, David. I can't remember the name of it right now, but post it in my link. Always encouraging people to grow and learn and stretch. And so have an amazing day. Thank you.